Pregame.com.
Tuesday night, Major League Baseball. We're going to take a look at the Texas Rangers. They traveled to Boston, play at Fenway. He's Brian Leonard. I'm Marco D'Angelo. Brian, baseball season's underway. We're going into the second full week of action. We've got a nice matchup here, Texas and Boston. Boston picked up where they left off last season to start the season, but since they've got the Fenway, won 3 in a row. We're taping on Monday, so they're actually playing. I don't know if the game's final or not yet, but they won the first 3, and they did it in convincing fashion. 31 runs in 3 games. They brought out the lumber. Is this something we're going to see a lot of this year with Boston, or?
Well, the Ellsbury injury is going to hurt him. I mean, he's the catalyst of this team, and him being out of the lineup, and right now they're desperately looking for outfielders. They had a couple guys they picked up in the offseason, but neither one of them are stars. We'll find out right now what Boston's made of. And in fact, you take a look at that lineup now without Ellsbury, without Crawford, it's not nearly as intimidating as it was expected to be coming into the season. That said, we take a look here at the first game of the series. Texas is at Boston. Texas had Monday off today. Boston played the early game with the
Boston Marathon
game, and it really wasn't a marathon. And we kind of spoke about this before the show. Boston wins this game 1-0. It's one of those games where Tampa's got to get on a plane and get the hell out of there. So it's a good situation to play the under there. It opened at 9.5, went down to 9, and it ended up 1-0. So that's something I always want to keep track of, is if a team has got a late game and they've got an early game or something the next day, some sort of a travel situation, keep in mind they're going to be swinging anything crosses the plate. Because of that, I think we'll get a little bit of value here. I'm going to be taking the over in this game. You take a look at, Boston just played Tampa at home. You take a look at that Tampa offense. You've got 3 or 4 good players and a bunch of mediocre middle infielder type of hitters. Take a look at Texas. Everybody in that Texas lineup can hit. Colby Lewis has taken the hill for the Rangers in this game, and he's really struggled against David Ortiz and Adrian Gonzalez. These are small sample sizes, but take a look at this. Those 2 players, Ortiz and Gonzalez, 2 left-handed hitters, going 11 for 22, 5 home runs against Colby Lewis. And once again, it's a small sample size, but it tells you right there the guys that hit for power in this ballpark against a pitcher like that can have some success. And in fact, last year, lefties have had a 829 OPS against them last year. So lefties have had a lot of success against them, and you've got some pretty good left-handed hitters for Boston.
Well, no question the Boston lineup, is potent. As we said, they scored 31 runs in, the first 3 games of that series against Tampa. Colby, let me play devil's advocate with you. Colby Lewis, in his first 2 starts, he's really pitched pretty good out of the gate. He had a 3-2 decision against the White Sox. He gave up just 2 runs. And then in his last start, the bullpen let him down. They gave up 3 in the 9th for a 4-3 loss. So I'm impressed with the way he's been pitching. Again, like you said, though, the matchup, he doesn't do well against those left-handers. And, Boston definitely is power with the lefties there at Fenway. John Lester, though, he's the ace of the staff. And, he's got a 36-15 lifetime mark at Fenway. I mean, he's emerged as, the ace of this staff, the most consistent, and his 2 starts, have been good to start the season. Opening day, he battled Justin Verlander, in a pitching duel. He left losing 1-0, in the game, and they ended up rallying to take the lead in the 9th, and then the Tigers, as we'll talk about, and this is something that's going to benefit, you with your over in late innings. This bullpen for Boston, I'm not impressed with. And they've blown some saves this year, save opportunities. And right now, and I think it's going to be maybe a closer by committee because they got to find somebody that's going to be tough. But when your closer is Alfredo Cevis and his ERA is 9.
That's basically just 1 outing, though. I mean, he's settled down since then. But there's a couple reasons for that. And you're going to find this, and it happens every year, beginning of the season, because you've got a lot of guys that don't know their roles yet in the bullpen. And you've got, other than the starter here, Lester, who's pitched well into the game, a lot of these guys are just getting hit pretty hard. I mean, Bard went a long way today. But if your starters aren't going to go 5-6 quality innings and your guys in the bullpen don't actually know their roles yet, like it is early in the season with a lot of these teams, you're going to find a lot of bullpens that are really exploding, and that's a situation there. And, you talked about Lewis, and I just want to touch on this. Last year he faced Boston 3 times. He had an 8.29 ERA against him. You did mention Lester, and once again, small sample sizes here, but against the Rangers last year, Nelson, or actually the last few years, Nelson Cruz and Mike Napoli, 2 power-hitting right-handers, 11 for 21 against him, and he's actually got an 8.94 OPS against him. Now, last year he faced him one time and pitched very well against him. But his career, he has not done that well against Texas, and it's nothing to do with this game, at least my bet in this game. I always track how teams do in the first 5 innings, tells me how strong their offense is early in the game, and also their starting pitching. Texas is 8-1-1 against the number in the first 5 innings. They only lost yesterday 2-1 to the Twins. So, if you're going to get, you're obviously going to get Texas. Here's an underdog price. With the pitching matchup, Lewis is a middle-of-the-road type of pitcher, and you got Lester is a high-quality, a high-thought-of starting pitcher. You might, if you're looking to play Texas in this game, it might be a pretty good payout in the first 5 innings there.
Good point. And the 5-inning bets are becoming more and more popular with people, especially here in Vegas, and of course with the in-game wagering, we're getting even more opportunities to do things. But good points. Are you surprised just in general, Texas off to the 8-2 start? They lost one of their big guns, pitching, C.J. Wilson, going to the Angels and stuff. I thought they were going to drop just a notch this year, but they're off to a quick 8-2 start and look like the team to beat in a weak division. But I'm surprised. All the changes that the Angels made this year, the moves and acquisitions, you kind of thought this was going to be a flip-flop and it would be Texas chasing the Angels, but it's still status quo. The Rangers are on top.
Yeah, I misspoke earlier. I talked about Lester last year against Texas. He actually had an 8.44 ERA, so he didn't pitch well against Texas last year in one start. But it's interesting, when I did our previews earlier this year, did it with Scott, and we got into it with Texas and the Angels, and I like Texas. A lot of people thought that Texas going to the World Series 2 years in a row and losing, it would be a deflating thing. To me, it's something that say, we got to that point, we need to be better. And losing C.J. Wilson's one thing, and Yu Darvish hasn't come out and torn up anything yet. But for everything I've read, it's a total confidence issue with him, and he's got all the stuff. So I like Texas coming into the season in this division. It's a long way to go yet, but the Angels are struggling a little bit, but they've got an awesome pitching staff.
For sure. Well, there you have it. Our first baseball pick video of the season, and Brian's going to christen the ship, so to speak. He's going with the over, taking Boston, Texas over the total, and you're projecting at least, 10 runs in this game?
Yeah, at least 10 runs, and christening the ship, I hope that has nothing to do with the Titanic movie coming out for the big anniversary here, but hopefully it won't go down like the Titanic and we'll get a high-scoring game.
All right, there you have it. Follow all of the videos on pregame.tv, where we'll have coverage all week long, and we're going to be back. Take a look at an NBA game for Wednesday night. It's a big one in the standings if you're doing playoff positioning. They're battling for the number 4 seed. We're going to look at Orlando and Boston up next.